Well, that's because your camera doesn't work. I don't know. I'm on. I'm looking at it. Well, then you must. Well, then you got a camera. No. Wait. Let me go to each page.
Okay, I can hear.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. The
No.
1:30 session of the felony DUI call is now in session. There's a couple things I need to advise you. First, this proceeding is being live streamed on YouTube. And it is
There should
done-
be a. I'm on. What's it called? I'm on mute, so they can't hear me talking. But there should be a
Actually,
hole
whoever
in
is
the
talking right
center,
now, I can hear you.
like where you take pictures. I don't know, on a iPad.
Hello?
Muted except me, so I need you all to listen to me for 1 minute. If you can listen, but I don't want you to say anything until you hear your case called. When you hear your case called, then you can unmute your phone and join the Zoom proceeding. As I was saying a moment ago, we are live streaming this on YouTube. And we do that not because we are interested in putting anything on YouTube. We do that because everybody who is accused has a constitutional right to have an open proceeding. And given the fact that the court building itself is closed and these proceedings are taking place via Zoom, that's our effort to comply and observe and honor everybody's constitutional rights. But bear in mind, since this is being live streamed, you are still in a courtroom, albeit a virtual courtroom. The court's expectation is that you're going to behave accordingly. So when your case is called, and if you are represented by counsel, just like in regular court, your attorney will speak on your behalf. If I have a question for you, I will let you know and I will ask you. But if I don't ask you a question or your attorney doesn't ask you a question, I don't want you to say anything. And again, it's not because I'm not interested in what you have to say. It's because I have a court reporter writing down everything that everybody says, and it is next to impossible for her to hear and write down things if we don't do it in an orderly fashion. In my courtroom, the prosecutors call the case first. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, they bear the burden of proof. They are the plaintiff in the lawsuit. It is their responsibility to prosecute these cases. Number two, they've already visited with many of the attorneys and they know what cases are ready to be called. So at some point, the last thing I want to say, at some points, I'm going to have an emergency hearing that I need to do live in this courtroom. When I do that, I will be looking out at the gallery of my courtroom. I'm not ignoring you. Court is still in session. You cannot discuss anything with anybody. And my expectation is that you will just all sit tight until that hearing is resolved. So I'm going to unmute our prosecutor. Ms. LaBeouf, if you unmute yourself.
Thank you. Afternoon. First case is Robert Olin. This is 19 CF 1442, People versus Robert Olin, people represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is present via Zoom. along with his attorney, Neil Kalenka, via Zoom. Your Honor, this case comes before you for case management.
And Mr. Olin, you can unmute yourself, and Mr. Kalenka, you can as well. Neil, good afternoon. What's the status of the case?
Good afternoon, Judge. The status of the case is I requested a video which was tendered to me. In fact, but I couldn't open it up. I was having difficulty. So I actually met with Ms. LeBeau on March 16th. I went over to the courtroom and she was trying to assist me in opening it, and she was having difficulty also. And so she ordered a new one burned. And that's where we stand. I'm looking to file a motion to suppress, but I need to see the video, Judge, and from the police department. And I think I asked for the CAD transcripts, and I haven't gotten those yet either. So that's where I'm at right now.
Ms. LeBeau, what's the status of your discovery?
Judge, both of those were requested during the shutdown, and some records departments were slow in getting it to us. So I will follow up with that. Yes, I do not have either one, but I will make sure I get it to Mr. Kalenka.
Neil, would you like to go into early July then?
That'd be fine, Judge.
Mr. Kalenka?
Can we do it like in the middle of July, Judge? We have my grandkids for a couple of weeks, the first 2 weeks in July.
16th?
1-5.
July 16, 1-6. Neil, you muted yourself.
Sorry, Judge. Yes, 1-6, July 16th is fine.
All right, Mr. Olin, have you been able to hear anything and do everything, and do you understand your next court date, sir?
Yes, July 16th.
July 16th at 1:30. Stay in contact with Mr. Kalenka. It's entirely likely that we'll still be using this platform to hold court, but in case that changes, reach out to Neil and he'll keep you informed, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bond is continued.
All right, can you shut this off?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
The next case is Michael Owens. I believe I see both parties present. This is 19 CF 2879, People v. Michael Owens, people represented by Lisa LeBeau. The defendant and his attorney, Martin Walker, are both present via Zoom. Your Honor, this case comes before you for arraignment.
Yeah, I saw Martin there. Martin, you can please unmute yourself. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, sir. And Mr.
Good.
Owens, are you present?
He is. Mr. Owens, you need to unmute yourself. It says Galaxy S8. There it is.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right, I'm sorry. Mr. Owens, good afternoon. And are you waiving formal reading, Mr. Walker?
Yes, and entering pleas of not guilty at this time.
All right, sir, it appears that the grand jury returned an indictment against you, charging you with one count of driving while license revoked as a Class 3 non-probationable felony, which carries with it the possibility of 2 to 10 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, followed by 1 year of mandatory supervised release or parole and a fine of up to $25,000. As currently charged, you could not receive probation or conditional discharge on that particular charge. There's also a no insurance ticket and a failure to reduce speed to avoid an accident ticket. Sir, do you understand the charge and the possible punishment?
Yes, sir.
Then I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. I'm going to order that the state furnish any and all felony discovery within 7 days of today's date, reciprocal discovery within 14 days of your receipt of the state's discovery to include an answer. Mr. Walker, my first available trial date, jury trial date, would be Monday, July 6th. After that, it is Monday, August 3rd.
Okay, you have Monday, July 6th, and then August 3rd, Your Honor.
Yes.
Let's go with August 3rd, please.
Okay. And just so the parties are aware, I don't know if we're going to be able to do jury trials in August. We're hopeful that we can do jury trials in August. But due to the pandemic, I know Mr. Owens is at liberty, but due to the pandemic, the speed trial clock has been suspended by the Illinois Supreme Court. We did a census of our ability to safely hold jury trials, and we are limited considerably by social distancing constraints. And we currently do not possess the ability to hold jury trials. That may change by August. We will see. We're working on different options, but I just wanted to put everybody on notice of that. Mr. Walker, would you like a case management date in middle of July?
Yes, please.
Tuesday, the 14th or Thursday, the 16th?
Let's go with Tuesday the 14th, please.
Very well, then Tuesday, the 14th of July for case management and pretrial. And then we'll set the matter on the August 3rd trial date. Sir, I know you're at liberty, but if you fail to appear on any of those court dates and your trial date, be advised that that trial could proceed in your absence. If that happened, you'd waive all your trial rights, including your right to confront witnesses. If you were found guilty in your absence, you could be sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Long. I appreciate it. Mr. Walker, nice to see you.
Judge,
Mr. Walker, the discovery will be on our 4-3 for you to pick up.
okay, it'll be prepared for me to pick up, so I should email or call you.
It's going to be able to pick up on 4-3 of our office with exception.
Okay.
Martin, did you have something else?
Yes, Judge. I had previously filed a motion to reduce and release bond back on March 16th. And of course, because of the COVID regulations and orders, that was, I suppose, not stricken, but continued. I'm asking the court to re-examine that motion. Essentially, whereas I believe he has 2,500 up
What
in
are you
bond.
asking for to be released?
I'm sorry?
How much are you asking to be released?
At least half of that, Judge.
I'm sorry?
Half of that, which is $1,250.
And is it your desire, Mr. Owens, to have the bond money that's posted, a portion of that money be tendered to Mr. Walker for his legal services?
Yes, sir.
All right, then bond will be reduced from $25,000 to $12,500, the balance being returned to Mr. Walker for his legal services.
And Judge, while we don't have a, we just want the record that it's over objection. This case involves injuries in an accident, but we understand that the court did release the bond.
No, that's fine, Ms. LaBeouf. It will be over the state's objection.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Miguel Laura. I'm sorry, is this an interpreter case? My notes don't reflect it.
No, there's no interpreter.
Okay, thank you. This is 19-16, People versus Miguel Laura. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is present via Zoom, joined by his attorney, Curley.
And Ms. LaBeouf, if you could do me a favor, and if you could say the case number again for me.
Sure, 19 CF 2316.
Give me one moment. All right. And I'm sorry, who was counsel for Mr. Lara?
Mr. McCurley, who I believe is present. And there's also a pretrial bond violation memo on this case.
Okay, what's the status of the case, folks?
There was a plea that was offered, but I haven't had Mr. Lara sign the paperwork. I presume we could put the plea through. I was hoping in person if the court would be opened up in July, or I guess next time we could do it over Zoom. I guess we'd be asking for a July date.
But there is a pretrial memo indicating that there was a curfew violation. State, are you asking to visit bond?
No, Judge, that's from March 12th. So just as the defendant is admonished on following pretrial rules and regulations.
Okay. Very well then. Are you objecting to a July date?
No,
Mr.
Judge.
All right, Mr. McCurley, what date works for you?
I can go anytime after 4th of July at the convenience of the court.
July 9th?
That works.
July 9th, bond is continued. Mr. Laura, have you understood everything that we've done here this afternoon?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you understand you have to still continue to comply with your conditions of pretrial release?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, then bond will be continued to that date. And we'll see everybody then. Mr. McCurley, end of record, Barb. Mr. McCurley, just so you know, we do still have a policy with regard to Zoom appearances. You know, when you as counsel are appearing on behalf of a client, I would hope that you would dress appropriately, not wear a baseball cap, because if you walked into my courtroom with a baseball cap on, I'd certainly ask you to leave. So please don't do that next time. And I think he's gone. So I'm glad somebody heard it. Go ahead, Ms. LaBeouf.
Next,
I'll relay that message to him, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, have a good one.
let's see, I'm trying to do an order they arrived. Next is Steven Strzelka. This is 16 CF 258.
Unmute yourself.
People versus Steven Strzelka. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant and his attorney
Francis Baumgart, I am here.
is
And
also
so is
present.
my client. So is my client.
Yep, they're both present via Zoom. Your Honor, there was a PTR hearing date set during the shutdown. We're asking for it to be reset for a petition to revoke hearing.
Are you asking for a hearing or a pretrial date?
We did have several pretrial dates. I don't believe it was fruitful in this matter, so I believe a hearing date.
Okay, counsel, when are you available for a hearing?
What's the time parameter, Judge, the dates?
Well, I have dates every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, did you say?
Every Tuesday and every Thursday. Right now, I'm only hearing emergency matters in person. So it was likely to be on this format.
What about the 18th? That is a Thursday.
The 18th, as in next week, the 18th?
That's June 18th.
Ms. LaBeouf, will you be ready by then?
Judge, we're fine giving a July date in anticipation that we may be able to do this in person.
Okay.
The 16th or the
Tuesday
20th?
or Thursday. The 2nd is a Thursday and the 7th is a Tuesday. Either of those work, counsel?
7th, Judge?
7th is fine.
Okay, it's the 7th of July. Also, Judge, there's a $25,000 cash bond outstanding as a result of my client's allegedly having violated his conditions pre-trial. And it turns out that what it was is he ended up taking a test and he came out positive. However, that was months ago, and he was taking a bunch of other medications at the same time. And now I believe the probation officer will testify that he's come clean every single time, and he was clean then. It's just simply there was an intermixture of the medicines.
Judge, I don't want to get into the merits of the hearing, which I believe is what counsel's doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that you are contesting the hearing. Today is not the day for that contest. That'll be on July 7th at 1:30.
Okay. What about him obtaining a BAID, Judge, for his inability to drive at this point? Do you have any problem with that?
I do, until the hearing is resolved.
Okay, so you're not going to allow it. You're not going to allow it.
No, I'm not at this point. I've got an allegation that somebody that's on felony probation violated the terms and conditions of his probation by testing positive. That does not seem like a perfect storm for a BAID device. But I will be happy to consider that should you prevail at the hearing on the 7th.
Right. Do you expect to be here, Judge, on the 7th yourself or not?
Oh, yeah. No, it's 5 days a week for me, counsel, so.
Right. Well, we were before Judge Johnson before is the only reason I asked.
No, Judge Johnson's been reassigned. This is now the call that I'm hearing.
Right. Thank you for your time, Judge.
Thank you very
We're
much.
talking July 7th, at what time? 1:30 or 9?
1:30, still on this platform.
I didn't hear the last part. Still on what?
Still on this platform, still on Zoom.
Super.
Okay? We'll see
Um,
everybody then. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Judge.
Thank you.
All right, Stephen, you hear that?
Judge, next we have
You
Gabriel.
didn't hear that?
So hold on, everybody. Counsel, if you could mute yourself for me.
I'm
And Ms. LaBeouf, I do have Mr. Ataka here. Now, I don't know if I saw Mr. Corbin anywhere.
I can give him a call, Judge.
So if you could just text him to say that we're ready. And then Ms. LaBeouf, hang on one second. Sorry, go ahead.
Judge, this is Francis Baumgart. May I interrupt for just a moment, please? We just
On
finished.
or off the record, Counsel.
On the record is fine.
All right, Barbara, you still with me? Right, back on the record in Mr. Strelka's case. Ms.
First of
LaBeouf
all,
is present for the people.
Thank you for letting me jump in. I appreciate that. I realize I'm interrupting. The probation officer was supposed to be here with glowing reports. He's not. His name is Jose, what is it?
Alcala.
Ocala. Miss State's Attorney, do you have any idea why he's not here?
Well, I can offer an explanation for that because he's one probation officer running the DUI unit and the matter is not set for hearing today. If you'd like to reach out to Mr. Alcala and notice his case up on a Tuesday or Thursday for any reason, you're welcome to do that. But he
Okay, and we have already set it for Tuesday or Thursday, so I just let him know what it is.
Yeah, that's fine. But just so you know, Counsel, the probation officers have caseloads. They're not sitting in the courtroom waiting to see how their guys are doing. They're out in the field visiting with their clients. They're only here if a party has subpoenaed them to appear in court, and apparently that didn't happen for today.
So do I need to subpoena him to get him here now?
My guess is if you called him and said, will you appear, he'll be a gentleman and he'll appear.
Okay, fine. Thanks for your time, and thank you for letting me jump in. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, Judge, I did speak with Mr. Corbin. I believe he's going to try and enter. In the meantime, do you want me to call a case or two until he gets in?
Please do.
Thank you. This is going to be Gabriel Hernandez, 20CF240, People versus Gabriel Hernandez. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant, I believe, is present. If he could identify himself via Zoom.
Mr. Hernandez, raise your hand for the court, just so I can see who. There he is. There he is. I see Mr. Hernandez.
And
Okay.
It
then
comes up as
Hernandez-
iPhone, Judge.
Yeah,
Correct.
Mr. Hernandez, if you can please unmute your iPhone for me.
I'm sorry, is it unmuted now?
Yes, sir, I can hear you just fine.
And
Okay.
he's represented by his attorney, Joe Zeit. Your Honor, this case comes before you for arraignment.
And Mr. Zeit, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge. Waiving formal reading, enter pleas of not guilty on the Mr. Hernandez matter.
And Mr. Hernandez, can you hear me okay, sir?
Yes, I can hear you clear.
Okay, just give me 1 second. All right, so the grand jury returned an indictment charging you with 2 separate felony offenses. In count 1 of that indictment, you're charged with the offense of aggravated driving under the influence of alcohol. And in count 2, you're charged with aggravated driving with an alcohol concentration of 0.08 or more. Both of those offenses are class 4 felonies. Those offenses carry with them the possibility of sentences to the Illinois Department of Corrections of 1 to 3 years, up to 6 years if you're eligible for an extended sentence, followed by 1 year of mandatory supervised release or parole. You could also be fined up to $25,000. If eligible, you could receive sentences of probation or conditional discharge for a period of up to 24 months. And you could be required to serve a sentence of periodic imprisonment or local incarceration for a period of up to 18 months. Sir, do you understand those charges and the possible punishment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then I'm gonna enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. I'm gonna order that the state tender any and all felony discovery within 7 days of today's date, reciprocal discovery within 14 days of your receipt of the state's discovery to include an answer. Mr. Zeit, in terms of dates, I have my next available trial date is Monday, July 6th. After that, it's Monday, August 3rd.
August 3rd, please, Judge.
All right, motion defendant August 3rd. And Mr. Zeit, just so you know, I don't know that we'll be doing jury trials by then. I'm hopeful we will. But I know your client's at liberty. There's really not a speedy trial issue. I didn't see a demand in the file. But nonetheless, we may not be in a position to be able to do juries at that time. Bench trials, maybe.
Judge,
Case
at this,
management.
Judge, at this point in time, I am not making any speedy demand requests.
How about a case management date? Tuesday or
Is-
Thursday afternoon?
Is July 30th too far out, Judge?
No, you're just right up against the trial date. But I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
I mean, we can go the week before that, Judge. You know, I know we've got no discovery yet, so
Okay. Let's set
July
it on the
23rd.
Let's set it on the 23rd at 1:30. It's likely we'll still be holding court in this fashion. Sir, check with your attorney just to make sure that you're not supposed to physically be in the courtroom. And just so you know, understand that if you fail to appear in court on either the pretrial date or the trial date, a warrant could issue for your arrest. If you fail to appear for the trial, that trial could go forward in your absence. If it did, you'd waive all your trial rights, including your right to confront witnesses. If you were found guilty in your absence, you could be sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Bond is continued. Ms. LaBeouf?
Yes, and Judge, Mr. Zeit, the discovery will be on our third floor of our office, waiting for you to pick it up.
Okay.
Anything else, Joe?
He's got one more case if you want to call it before.
I do, but Judge, are we doing these at 9 or 1:30? I apologize.
This is at 1:30, Joe.
Okay.
And-
Thank you. And Mr. Hernandez, I will call you in a little bit.
Joe,
All right, thank you.
What's your next case, Joe?
Mr. Arturo Gomez, 20 CF 592.
20 CF 592, People versus Arturo Gomez. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant, I believe, is present if he can identify himself via Zoom.
Mr. Gomez is present in my office, Judge.
Thank you. And he is represented by his attorney, Joe Zeit. Your Honor, case comes before you for arraignment.
I have, Joe, did you file an appearance on this?
Judge, we may have just filed an appearance. We were probably retained, and then our initial court date to file an appearance got changed. But if we haven't, I would ask leave to be able to file that appearance. I do believe that we did send one via the Cook County filing system just recently.
Okay. It appears the public defender was initially appointed but never discharged. I'm discharging the public defender. And Mr. Gomez, it's your desire to have Mr. Zeit represent you in this matter. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay, very well. Then Joe, how would you like to proceed?
Judge, with that, I would ask to waive formal reading of the charges, enter pleas of not guilty. And I would ask the same discovery request as before.
And Judge, also the discovery will be on floor 3 as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gomez and Joe, I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect by this question, but Mr. Gomez speaks and understands English, no problem.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Understand English? A little bit.
Okay, well, a little bit
Want an
makes me
interpreter?
uncomfortable.
Would you prefer an interpreter? Could I get an interpreter for Mr. Gomez, please?
I'm going to have to pass it and I'm going to have to call for one. So if you can hang in there, look, there's an arraignment's a critical date and
That's fine, Judge. I understand that. I can wait.
Okay, so we'll pass the matter. I'll contact an attorney. Mr. Corbin, I believe, is on now. So I'm going to sort of suspend my call and deal with his case. Before you call that, Mr. Corbin, let me just make a phone call for the interpreter, please. To all the folks waiting, I do have an emergency in-person hearing that I need to hear. I anticipate that will take approximately 10 minutes. So sit tight, and as soon as I can, I will resume the call. I'm going to leave my mic unmuted so our court reporter hopefully can hear. Barb, I do have the microphones on in the courtroom. I will turn the volume up as much as I can. If you're having a hard time, wave, let me know, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Wataka, Mr. Hofer, I'm going to ask gentlemen that you pull the mics over to you. Bob, you're sitting pretty far away from it. Put it right in front of you like your Fahey phone. All right, and then, okay, and then keep your voice up if you could. Mr. Hofer, when you're ready.
Your Honor, this is people of the state of Illinois versus Penny Hodge, 18 CF 2899, people by Scott Hofer, present in front of the court, with his attorney, Mr. Wataka, who is present also. All parties are in the courtroom. Matter comes before.
Okay, Mr. Hofer, I'm going to stop you. Our court reporter cannot pick this up.
No.
So Barb, if you can, she's going to make her way over. She's going to be here live in person. So this will be about a 5-minute recess. Gentlemen, I'm going to go back on Zoom, so if they can move to the back, that'd be great. Barbie, all set? Okay. Ms. LaBeouf, if you'd unmute yourself and call the next case. So you're aware Orlando is nice enough to join us to interpret it for Mr. Zeit's case.
Sure. Judge, that's 20 CF 592, People versus Arturo Gomez. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant, as well as his attorney Joe Zeit, are both present via Zoom. Case is before you for arraignment.
Pues este es el caso de Arturo Gómez 20CF592. La fiscalía está presente mediante Lisa LaBeouf. El acusado representado por su abogado Joseph Zeit está aquí presente. El día de hoy viene para una lectura formal de los cargos.
And Mr. Zeit, are you waiving formal reading?
Señor Zeit, ¿renuncia usted a una lectura formal?
Yes. Entering pleas of not guilty.
Sí, nos declaramos no culpables.
And Mr. Gomez, can you hear our interpreter okay, sir?
Señor Gómez, ¿usted puede escuchar bien al intérprete?
Sí.
Yes.
Sir, you are charged by way of indictment with multiple felony offenses.
Señor, usted en esta acusación ha sido acusado por varios delitos mayores.
In count one, you are charged with aggravated driving under the influence of alcohol as a class 2 felony.
En el cargo 1, usted ha recibido cargos por manejar con agravantes bajo la influencia del alcohol, que es un delito mayor clase 2.
And in counts 2, 3, and 4, you're charged with aggravated driving under the influence of alcohol in a different way as all as class 4 felonies.
Y en los cargos 2, 3 y 4, usted tiene cargos por manejar con agravantes bajo la influencia del alcohol de una manera distinta como delitos mayores clase 4.
Class 2 felonies carry with it the possibility of 3 to 7 years in the Department of Corrections.
Delitos mayores clase 2 contienen un posible castigo de 3 a 7 años en el Departamento Correccional.
Up to 14 years if you're eligible for an extended sentence.
O hasta 14 años si usted fuera elegible para una extensión en su sentencia.
Followed by a period of 2 years of mandatory supervised release or parole.
Seguidos por 2 años de supervisión mandatoria o libertad condicional.
You could be fined up to $25,000.
Puede ser multado hasta $25,000.
Additionally, if eligible, you could receive sentences of probation or conditional discharge for a period of up to 4 years.
Adicionalmente, si es elegible, puede recibir sentencias de aprobación, descargo condicional por hasta 4 años.
And you could face between 18 and 30 months of periodic imprisonment or local incarceration.
Y puede encarar entre 18 y 30 meses de encarcelamiento periódico o encarcelamiento pautado.
On the class 4 felonies,
Por los delitos clase 4,
those offenses carry with it the possibility of 1 to 3 years in the Department of Corrections,
llevan consigo la posibilidad de 1 a 3 años en el Departamento Correccional,
up to 6 years if you're eligible for an extended sentence,
hasta 6 años si es elegible para una sentencia extendible,
followed by 1 year of mandatory supervised release or parole.
seguido por 1 año de supervisión a ser liberado o libertad condicional.
If eligible, you could receive sentences of probation or conditional discharge,
Si es elegible, puede recibir sentencias de probación o de descargo condicional.
excuse me, for a period of up to 30 months.
Disculpe, por un periodo que puede ser de hasta 30 meses.
You could be fined up to $25,000,
Puede ser multado hasta $25,000
and you could also be subject to a period of periodic imprisonment or local incarceration for up to 18 months.
y puede ser sometido a un periodo de 18 meses de encarcelamiento periódico o encarcelamiento local, o hasta 18 meses.
The final charge is driving while license revoked enhanced.
El último cargo es por manejar bajo revocación de sus privilegios. Aumentado el
That
cargo.
offense is also a class 4 felony
También es un delito clase 4 mayor,
with the same penalties as the other charges.
con los mismos castigos que los otros cargos.
Sir, do you understand those charges and the possible punishment?
Señor, ¿entiende usted lo que le acabo de decir, los posibles castigos de los cargos?
Sí.
Yes.
And I'm entering pleas of not guilty on your behalf. Mr. Zeit, would you like that August 3rd trial date?
Please, Judge.
Acepto declaraciones de no culpabilidad por parte de su abogado a su favor. Señor Zaire, ¿usted quiere la fecha del 3 de agosto? Sí, juez.
And then when would you like a case management date, Mr. Zeit?
Same day, that 23rd, please.
And then, go ahead, Orlando.
¿Qué fecha quiere usted como fecha de administración para el caso? La misma fecha, 23 día 23, por favor.
And we'll set the matter on the 23rd of July for case management and pretrial.
En fecha previa al juicio y administración del caso el día 23 de julio, señor.
Mr. Gomez, do you have any questions at all, sir?
Señor Gómez, ¿usted tiene alguna pregunta?
No.
No.
Okay, Mr. Zeit?
Judge, I would just ask the same reciprocal discovery orders that were previously given be for Mr. Gomez's case as well.
Pues solo pido que las muestras de evidencias recíprocas, las órdenes de muestras de evidencias sean dadas para el señor Gómez igualmente.
Sir, the state has 7 days to furnish any and all felony discovery.
Señor, los fiscales tienen 7 días para entregar todas y cualquiera de las muestras de evidencia de sus delitos mayores.
The defense has 14 days to furnish the state with reciprocal discovery, including an answer.
Y la defensa tiene 14 días para entregar las muestras de evidencia recíprocas, incluyendo una contestación.
All right.
And Judge, as I previously discussed, that the discovery will be on the 3rd floor for our office for Mr. Zeit to pick up.
Y como indiqué previamente, las muestras de evidencia van a estar disponibles para que el señor Zeit las recoja.
Thank you. Joe, anything else?
That's it, Judge.
Gracias.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Does anybody else
tenga un buen
have a
día.
client that needs an interpreter? Okay, very well. Orlando, oh wait, Louis is waving his hand frantically. Lou, unmute yourself and tell me who you have.
Roberto Cantu, 13 CF 71. Oops, sorry.
Go ahead. It's 13 CF 71. People versus Roberto Cantu Acosta.
I don't know that he's waving his hand right there. Sir, unmute your phone, please.
Señor, ¿puede activar el audio en su teléfono, por favor?
Ya, ¿me oye?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Sí, gracias.
State is represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant, as well as his attorney, Louis Elbron, are both present via Zoom. Your Honor, this case was set for a PTR hearing on March 27th.
Lisa LaBeouf está aquí a favor de la Fiscalía. Su señoría, este caso, donde el acusado está presente vía Zoom junto con su abogado, había venido para una audiencia en una petición de revocación previamente.
Okay, and Mr. Alvaron, how would you like to proceed?
Señora Barran, ¿cómo quiere proceder?
I'd like another hearing date, please. I'd like to get an updated report from the probation department. I thought I had one, but it's more just email threads, and I'd like an actual report, please.
Me gustaría una fecha de continuación, por favor. Pensé que había recibido un reporte del Departamento Probacional, pero he recibido algunos informes parciales y quisiera un reporte al día, por favor.
Orlando, thank you. I'm sorry. Mr. Alvaron, how far out would you like to go?
Señora Barran, ¿hasta dónde quiere usted que se continúe la fecha?
Maybe a month or so.
Quizás un mes, algo así.
That's fine, Judge.
Está bien, juez.
About July 16th, Mr. Alvaron.
Me parece 16 de julio, señora Barran.
Perfect.
Perfecto.
July 16th at 1:30.
16 de julio a la 1:30.
And Madam Clerk, please ask probation to file a written report to be made available to the parties.
Y señora secretaria, asegúrese que un reporte por escrito esté disponible para los interesados.
Okay, thank you.
Bien, gracias.
Your Honor.
And the next case I have for Mr. Elbron is Mario Aquino Morales. I'm not sure I see him, if he can identify himself.
I don't think he'll be here.
Judge, this is 20 CF 621. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is not present, but he is represented by his attorney, Louis Elbron. Your Honor, this case comes before you for a petition on a hearing on a petition to rescind. Mr. Elbron and I had come to an agreement to continue this matter. I did send the order via the 611 email address. I haven't received anything back, so I don't know if you've received that yet.
Yeah, I have it. It was an agreed order that was provided, and the case is moved to July 30th at 1:30 for hearing. Correct?
Status is fine.
Status is fine. You're not demanding a hearing, Mr. Alvaron?
No, sir.
All right, then at 1:30 for status, and the defendant's presence is waived. He must appear on the next court date.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Next, we have Salvatore Dispenza. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong.
Judge, am I free to depart?
Despina.
I don't believe anybody else needs the interpreter. Is that correct?
I do not. I have two Hispanic surnames, but they both speak good English.
Orlando, thanks so much. I appreciate you hanging in there.
Hello,
Judge.
Orlando.
Hello.
This is 19 CF 2844. People versus Salvatore Despina. State represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant, if he could identify himself, I believe he's right there with the tree, Your Honor. He's present via Zoom along with his attorney, Dan Zeit. Case comes before you for arraignment.
All right, and Mr. Zeit, are you waiving formal reading?
Yes, Judge, waiving formal reading and entering pleas of not guilty.
And Mr.
Judge, could I just make sure Mr. Despina speaks good English? Can we ask him that before we move forward?
Mr. Despina, are you comfortable without an interpreter, sir?
Yes.
Okay, and I don't mean any disrespect by that. I just need to make sure you're understanding everything that's taking place today, okay?
Yeah.
All right, are you waiving formal reading, Mr. Zeit?
Yes, Your Honor, we are. Entering pleas of not guilty.
Sir, the grand jury returned an indictment against you, charging you with 3 felony offenses. In count 1 of that indictment, you're charged with aggravated driving under the influence of alcohol as a non-probationable class 1 felony. That offense carries with it the possibility of 4 to 15 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, up to 30 years if you are eligible for an extended sentence, followed by a period of mandatory supervised release or parole of 2 years, and you could be fined up to $25,000. You cannot receive sentences of felony conditional discharge or probation. Count 2 charges you with aggravated driving under the influence of alcohol as a class 4 felony, and count 3 charges you with driving while license is revoked enhanced, also a class 4 felony. Those offenses carry with it the possibility of 1 to 3 years in the Department of Corrections, up to 6 years if you're eligible for an extended sentence, followed by 1 year of mandatory supervised release or parole. You could be fined up to $25,000 as well. If eligible, you could receive sentences of probation or conditional discharge for a period of up to 30 months. And you could face up to 18 months of periodic imprisonments or local incarceration. Sir, do you understand those charges and the possible punishment?
Yes.
And I'm entering pleas of not guilty on your behalf. I'm ordering that the state furnish any and all felony discovery within 7 days of today's date, reciprocal discovery within 14 days of your receipt of the state's discovery to include an answer. Mr. Zeit, I have either July 6th or August 3rd for trial.
August 3rd, sir.
And motion defendant August 3rd. And when do you want to set it for case management and pretrial?
Mr. Buff, do you have any idea when I could get the discovery on this one?
Judge, I just received all the videos, so we will call them and it's ready to be picked up in the front.
You want to go end of July, Dan?
Say when in July, Judge?
21st?
We could go sooner than that if you want, because if she's
Okay.
got the discovery.
14th?
Yes, sir.
July 14th for case management and pretrial, August 3rd for trial. Finally, sir, I appreciate you're at liberty, but bear in mind if you fail to appear in court, either for that case management date or the trial date, that trial could go forward without you being here. If that happened, you'd waive all your trial rights, including your right to confront witnesses. If you were found guilty in your absence, you could be sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, before we leave Mr. Despina, are those 9 o'clocks or
1:30, Jan.
Both of them are scheduled at 1:30?
No, not the trial date. The trial date's at 9. The case management date is 1:30.
Of course. Thank you, sir. And one more thing, Mr. Despina was hoping to get off Scram. The person from, where is it? Ronnie Torres wasn't answering his phone over at the Scram department. I was wondering if maybe the court had something in the file that shows no violations.
No, I don't know what's going on with the pretrial memos, but they're few and far between. I suspect that it has something to do with everybody's ability to provide reports to each other, but
I know we're trying to not jam up the calls. Pardon me for stepping on your words.
no worries. If you have something on the next court date or you feel it's appropriate to notice up, you're welcome to do it.
And
Thank you.
He's charged with a non-probationable class 1, and I do believe there was a request earlier in bond court to remove Scram, which was denied.
Okay.
So just for future reference, we're still going to object.
I appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. LaBeouf. Thank you, Yana.
All right. I do have a young lady who is in the law library, and my protocol is Ms. LaBeouf would try to get those folks out. So if we can call her case, I'd appreciate it. It's Ms. Kralzewski.
Got it. This is 19 CF 2313, People versus Kimberly Kozlowski. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is present via Zoom. And I do believe she's represented by Paul Circlin. Judge, I did have an email from Mr. Circlin. Give me 1 second. He's asking to move this case to July 15th at 1:30. Looks like he did have a conflict with today's court appearance.
July 15th?
That's what he said. I don't know if that's
It's a Wednesday, so no, but I could do the 14th or the 16th at 1:30.
Judge, I guess I'll put it on the 16th, and if there's a problem, I will send a motion.
Ms. Kralzewski, are you available at that time, ma'am?
July 16th, Your Honor?
At 1:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bond is complete. Let Mr. Circlin know. I know Ms. LaBeouf will as well. And we'll see you in July.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I just emailed him, Judge. Okay. Next, we have Cameron Conrad, who's represented by Mr. Ferris. Judge, this is 19 CF 43, People versus Cameron Kennard. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is present. I believe he's muted with no video right now. And he's represented by Saul Ferris, who's also present. Both are via Zoom. This case comes before you for pretrial on a petition to revoke.
And Mr. Kennard was here earlier.
So much, I didn't realize that they did home and do this. I feel like such a
Ms. Kozlowski left it open with the mic open.
She sure did. Mr. Kennard, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Saul, you're good?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Great.
How would you folks like to proceed?
So for status, my client was supposed to go test. I don't know what the results were. Cameron?
I had a negative test, but I used a couple of weeks ago, because my uncle died. So but it was, positive.
So I have a memo that indicates that he had not gotten over there. I don't have an updated memo. He did test positive back in February for alcohol. He has chipped away a little over 100 hours of his public service. He still owes a considerable amount of money. So I'm not sure how the parties are asking me to proceed.
Well, Judge, on the last court date of June 4th, because of the positive test, we wanted him tested that day. But because of COVID and our restraints of not being in person, you set a short court date for him to go test with probation between then and today's court date. I don't have any memo from probation if he's checked in between then.
So Mr. Kennard, did you test between the last time you were on Zoom and today?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, I did.
And who did you test with?
I went to the facility in downtown. My probation officer was there as well.
Okay, who's your PO? Remind me who your PO is.
Robert Lee.
I'm sorry, you
Your Honor.
dropped off.
My probation officer is Robert Lee, Your Honor.
Robert Lee?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know, Ms. LaBeouf, if you have contact info for Robert Lee.
And could I add, like, as far as?
No, I don't want you to say anything, Mr. Kennard.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Here's why.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Hold on, Lisa, hold on. Because I want to give Mr. Kennard an explanation. I don't want you to say anything because there's a petition pending. There's some peril in this for you. So if you were alive and in court, I promise you, Mr. Ferris would have grabbed you by the arm, spun you around, told you not to say anything by now. So I don't want you to say anything. Ms. LaBeouf, go ahead.
I do have an email from Mr. Lee. He sent it. He's working remotely today. If we need to call him, he gave me his number. He indicated what exactly the defendant said, that he admitted to using 3 weeks ago. He reported yesterday and was positive for cannabis.
Okay. Well, weed stays in your system for a while, so that could explain that. What are you asking to do, Ms. LaBeouf?
Judge, he indicated that he did it 3 weeks ago. He should be clean within a week and a half. It was edibles. It wasn't, is what he was saying, that he had edibles. So I would ask for a bond review date, a hearing on his bond about 2 weeks from today, and have him test right before that hearing.
Mr. Ferris, is your client involved in any treatment currently?
I do not know what his status is, Judge. I haven't been in touch.
Right.
You have my full authority to ask him directly.
Okay, so Mr. Kennard, this is going to be a yes or no question. I only want you to answer this question, yes or no. Are you involved in any substance abuse treatment right now?
Currently, no, they're not offering online.
Okay. Are you court ordered? Again, yes or no. Are you court ordered to complete treatment as part of your probationary sentence?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where?
In Fox Lake.
Okay, with who?
It's called North Lake.
Okay.
It's a treatment facility out there.
Right. Are they not doing online classes?
I believe not. No. They are gonna. And I was going there as well, and then there was a payment issue, which is why I couldn't continue.
Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to ask our clerk to order from probation a updated written status report. Today is the 11th. I'm going to set this on. Saul, are you available on Tuesday, June 30th?
Yes.
All right, Tuesday, June 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's going to be for status of petition to revoke hearing and bond. And there will be an updated report. So Mr. Kennard, here's what you have to do. You have to get a hold of Mr. Lee, and you all have to figure out how to get yourself into compliance. I don't want to revoke your bond. I don't want to do any of those things. But if you don't get on the stick here and get some work done, I'm not going to have a lot of choices. So between now and June 30th, get it together. All right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we'll see everybody on the 30th.
See you then. Thank you.
Judge, next I have Charles Miller, Doug Roberts matter. Don't know if I see his client present.
I see, I think Mr. Roberts is certainly here.
Correct. Doug, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, Doug, you can unmute yourself. You've got that telemarketing headset on still, so.
While he's doing that, Dan, I don't see any more cases with Dan Zeit. I know he's.
Nobody jumped back on the call. So unmute yourself, Dan, because right now you're Marcel Marceau.
Hello, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hey, Judge, I have Arturo Sanchez for a PTR.
Oh, got it right here.
Mr. Sanchez has been here all afternoon.
17 CF 2687, People versus Arturo Sanchez. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant as well as his attorney are both present via Zoom. We had a petition to revoke hearing set in April.
All right, how would the parties like to proceed?
So Judge, I believe we just need another hearing date set.
I would, Ms. LaBeouf, Mr. Grindel and I worked this out way back, and he filed a petition shortly after the guy pled guilty on the case. He said, let's see how the probation goes. His 2 years would be up June 15th in a couple of days. And I showed that his $4,700 is paid in full, fines and court costs. His public service hours are complete. And I think he hasn't had any other violations. We did go out on the driving while license revoked, the only allegation in the charge in the PTR. We went out and pled guilty on that over a year ago. He's paid that fine and court costs. He got soup on it because it was his first and only. And so unless there's other problems with the probation, if we could give it a real short date, I think you really might be getting rid of it.
I wanted to correct it. It wasn't Mr. Grindel that did anything. There's notes from me and Corbin. I would just need an updated report from probation, which I don't have. So it may be just a status date to get that, Judge.
All right, let's, Madam Clerk, please order a written status report from probation with respect to Mr. Sanchez's compliance. We'll set this matter. Danny, I think I said something for you on July 14th.
Yeah, on account of his probation ending June 15th, Judge, could we give him a sooner date if it's possible,
Sure.
sir?
No, no worries. I can do the 23rd.
Thank you very kindly, Judge.
And then we'll see where we're at then.
Thank you, Ms. LaBeouf.
Thanks.
And is that at 1:30 or 9? My secretary is making me write this down.
That's well, it's a good secretary. 1:30.
Thank you, sir.
Left to your own devices, Dan, goodness knows where you'd end up.
I thank God I got some decent people around me, Judge.
And Doug Roberts, are you available now?
So.
Okay. This is Charles Miller, 19 CF 2639, People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. I do not see the defendant present, but his attorney, Doug Roberts, is present via Zoom.
Mr. Miller appears to be sitting directly behind Mr. Roberts.
He is present, Judge, both the defendant and attorney.
All right, and what's the matter up for today?
We just had a pre-trial date and a trial date that was set during the COVID shutdown.
Okay, and Mr. Roberts, are you asking for another case management date and a trial date?
Just if that's available in August 3rd for trial.
Doug, I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now better?
Yeah, speak up a little bit if you could.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Oh boy. All right. July 21st and August 3rd.
Okay, August 3rd for trial and July 21st for case management and pretrial. Barb, did you hear all that okay? Okay, then those will be the dates. Mr. Miller, thanks for coming back, and then we'll see you then, sir. Thank you.
Wait for me outside.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Is there some way I can turn the sound up here or what? I got past the mute part. I got that.
Well, I don't know that headset's working. You might be leaning into the speaker on your computer.
Is that better? Is that better?
Now it's better. I don't know.
Better,
Maybe there's
better.
a short in your mic.
Well, I just want to be as close as possible to you, Judge, and Miss LaBeouf, of course.
I can hear you. Next is Elias Miranda, which is also Mr. Roberts' case, 17 CF 382, People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant present with you, Doug?
Yes.
Thank you. He's present via Zoom along with his attorney, Doug Roberts. Judge, there was a petition to revoke hearing that was set back in March, so I believe we just need to reset it.
And I don't mean any disrespect to Mr. Miranda, but he speaks and understands English, Doug?
Absolutely. Yes, he does.
Okay. Then when would you like to set this for a PTR hearing?
We'd like to set it for status of the PTR, and that would be July 21st at 1:30.
Okay, July 21st, 1:30, pretrial, final pretrial on the petition to revoke.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bond is continued.
And Doug, do you have any other cases? Oh, I think he's done. Are you done? Okay. I think he's done. Okay. Judge, we have Dale Smith as Mr. Otaka's cases. It is 19 CF 50, 19 CF 827, and 19 CF 2318. People versus Dale Smith. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is not present. He's represented by Bob Otaka. Your Honor, this is up for a status of writ. At this point in time, we've been informed that writs aren't being done because of COVID. So I do not have an update as to when he would be brought here.
Yeah, the Department of Corrections, the Department of Human Services are not honoring any writ issued by any court for any reason. So, Mr. Otaka, would you like to go to the end of July? You're muted, Bob.
End of July would be okay.
July 30th for status of writ.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
I have one more, Your Honor.
And who's that, Mr. Otaka?
That would be Jonathan Stinnett, Your Honor. Morales Stinnett. Morales.
Yes, 17 CF 923, People versus Morales Stinnett. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. I believe the defendant is present with Mr. Otaka via Zoom. Your Honor, this was set for final PTR hearing in April, so we need a hearing date.
Your Honor, there's no money that he can post at this time. It's only money that they're looking for. He's practically homeless. He has no job. He's on, I believe he's on dialysis and medications from the hospital. Judge Johnson knows that it's very, very difficult for him to pay any money. The last time he paid, I believe it was $20 or close to $20.
We'll set it on July 9th, Bob. Are you available on July 9th?
July
9?
July 9th, okay. July 9th.
And that'll be final for hearing. And if the state can't meet their burden, they can't meet their burden.
All right, thank you, Judge. And Judge,
yes,
Judge, the other thing, when I was here this afternoon, you asked me to do subpoenas, and I prepared the subpoenas.
Okay, and I'm not telling you what to do, Mr. Otaka. I'm just saying if we're going to advance it, we need to get somebody in here to testify to what all those things mean. That's unrelated to an unrelated case, Barb, so don't worry about it.
No.
We'll see you on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Mute. No, don't say anything yet.
Thank God for his son. Go ahead, Ms. LaBeouf.
This is 19 CF 486, People versus Ramon Rivas. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is present via Zoom along with his attorney, Ms. Ayala. Case comes before you for arraignment.
Afternoon, Davina.
Good afternoon, Judge.
And are you waiving formal reading?
I am, Judge, and I would enter pleas of not guilty. I would also like to note for the court, I did send over this afternoon an answer and motion for discovery. Thank you.
Got them both. Thank you for doing that. Mr. Rivas, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, I don't mean any disrespect, sir, by this question, but do you speak and understand English?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The grand jury returned a 2-count indictment against you, charging, I'm sorry, 3-count indictment, charging you with 3 felony offenses. In counts 1 and 2, you're charged with the offense of aggravated driving under the influence of alcohol. And in counts 3, you're charged with driving while license revoked, enhanced. All of those are class 4 felonies. Those offenses carry with it the possibility of 1 to 3 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, up to 6 years if you're eligible for an extended sentence, followed by a period of mandatory supervised release or parole of 1 year. You could be fined up to $25,000. If eligible, you could receive sentences of felony conditional discharge or probation for a period of up to 30 months, and you could face up to 18 months of periodic imprisonment or local incarceration. Sir, do you understand those charges and the possible punishment?
Yes, sir.
Then I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Ms. Ayala, I have either July the 6th or August 3rd for trial.
Judge, August 3rd would be fine. I would be asking to seek leave to file a speedy trial demand, and I can send that over as well.
Yeah, you can send that over via the no reply email address for agreed orders. That's fine. You're given leave to file your speedy. And when would you like a case management and pretrial date?
Can we get mid-July, please, Judge?
14th?
That'd be great.
July 14th at 1:30 for case management and pretrial. Mr. Rivas, one final thing. I know you're at liberty, sir, but if you fail to appear for any court date, either the July 14th court date or the August 3rd trial date, a warrant would likely issue for your arrest. If you didn't appear for that trial date, that trial could go forward without you being here. If that happened, you'd waive all your trial rights, including your right to confront witnesses. If you're found guilty in your absence, you could be sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that?
And Judge, with them filing a speedy trial demand, they are asking for the second available trial date. And I'd also ask that he be informed of the COVID and the speedy trial that's pausing the speedy trial.
So the first available trial date is the 6th of July. There being no speedy technically on file yet, although defense has leave to file one. Defense requested August 3rd. So it's August 3rd on defense's motion. Mr. Rivas, I need to let you know that the Illinois Supreme Court has entered 2 separate orders during the pandemic that impact your right to a speedy trial. Essentially, the Supreme Court has suspended speedy trial rights due to the pandemic because we cannot safely hold jury trials at this time and comply with social distancing requirements. In support of that, we did a census as a circuit. We simply lack the physical facilities to safely hold jury trials at this moment. What's more than that is Waukegan continues to be a hotspot for the COVID tests, people testing positive for COVID, excuse me. So there is no speedy trial implication at this point to you because we can't hold jury trials yet. That does, however, as the parties are aware, we do anticipate we will be able to do bench trials via Zoom starting very quickly here. So Ms. Ayala, you can tell your colleagues that if you're demanding and you wish to waive jury, we may be able to accommodate you more quickly as a bench trial.
Will do. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Next, we have Edwin Ortiz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
And I just want to make sure, does he need an interpreter? I don't,
No.
it's not
No.
Okay, thank you. 20 CF 167, People versus Edwin Ortiz, people represented by Lisa LaBeouf, the defendant and his attorney. Sir, if you can just state your name.
Scott Hector, Pechter.
And Judge, they're both present via Zoom. Case comes before you for rain. We do have discovery be available on our 3rd floor for counsel to pick up.
Hey, Mr. Petra, good afternoon. Mr. Ortiz, good afternoon. I know you fellows have been on since 1:30, so thanks for your patience. I appreciate it. Welcome to the new world of digital justice. So are you waiving formal reading of the charging instrument?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ortiz, the state did file a 1-count information charging you with 1 count of driving while driver's license revoked, enhanced based on a prior conviction for DUI and a prior driving while license suspended charge. That's a class 4 felony. That offense carries with it the possibility of 1 to 3 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, up to 6 years if you are eligible for an extended sentence, followed by a period of mandatory supervised release or parole of 1 year. You could be fined up to $25,000. If eligible, you could receive sentences of felony conditional discharge or probation for a period of up to 30 months, and you could face up to 18 months of periodic imprisonment or local incarceration. Sir, do you understand that charge and the possible punishment?
Yes, sir.
We enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, Mr. Ortiz. Order the state furnish any and all felony discovery to counsel within 7 days, 14 days for reciprocal discovery to include an answer. Mr. Ortiz's first available trial date is July 6th. which is really sort of a fiction, as you probably just heard a minute ago, Mr. Pector, or August 3rd.
Let me check August 3rd. We can do August 3rd, Your Honor.
We'll set the matter on the August 3rd trial call. How about a case management and pretrial date?
How is July 14th?
July 14th is fine. July 14th at 1:30, again via Zoom for case management and pretrial. August 3rd for trial. One final thing I need to advise you of, Mr. Ortiz, I know you're at liberty, but if you fail to appear at any of those court dates, a warrant could issue for your arrest. If you didn't appear for that trial date in August or any date that the case is set down for trial, that trial could proceed in your absence, and if it did, you'd waive all your trial rights, including your right to confront witnesses. If you were found guilty in your absence, you could be sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks for your patience today, guys. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Your Honor. And I would also just ask the state if they could just send me some contact information. I've been trying to call, but it must have not been correct. So maybe email address or something, if you could send that to me.
I can send it to you private via chat.
Okay.
You just look on the chat screen.
Will do. And then I'll pick up the discovery. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Judge, that's the last of the private attorneys I have, unless there's someone else in here.
Well, just let Mr. Argueta in, so he's present. I'm not sure, Julio, who your client is.
Sure, Judge. My client, I have George Martinez.
Okay.
And I have an Antonio Ortiz, aka Jose Jesus Guzman, who is not present.
Okay.
Mr. Martinez would require the services of the court interpreter.
Okay, that's going to take me a minute. Thanks for letting me know.
No worries, Judge. And I apologize, Your Honor, I was in courtroom 610 via Zoom.
Get away for you. I don't know worries. We're still going.
Yeah, they are.
Lisa, I have two cases.
Sure, we're on pause now because he's calling the interpreter.
Oh, okay.
And now I'm off. So if you want to call Davina's cases, go right ahead.
Davina,
Julio, hang in there.
Which ones are yours?
Crystal Cifuentes and LaWarren Stewart.
Let me do one thing before you call anything. Mr. Colwell, can you unmute yourself? You've been here all afternoon. Do you have an attorney, sir?
Gregory Nikitas.
Okay.
We sent you the agreed order on Mr. Cowell as well.
Did you get an agreed order on Cowell? I didn't see one, Lisa, but that doesn't mean it didn't come in since I've been on the bench.
Okay.
What's the case number on that?
Mr. Cowell's case is 19 CF 2109.
We'll check the agreed orders on that. Mr. Cowell, sit tight. If there's an agreed order, why don't you mute yourself? I'll ask for you to unmute again in a moment, okay?
He was
Okay, thank you, sir.
to move it to June 18th at 1:30.
No, he didn't say, I don't have him.
I don't have an agreed order. Is that the date you and Mr. Nikitas agreed on?
Yes, Judge.
Let's call this gentleman real quick so I can get him out of here. He's been sitting in his car for all afternoon.
Sure. This is 19 CF 1209, People versus Andrew Cowell. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is present via Zoom, and his attorney, Greg Nikitas, is not present. Your Honor, I did have conversations with Mr. Nikitas. He had a conflict today. He is asking to move this by agreement to June 18th at 1:30.
Okay, then Mr. Cole, you need to do what you did today on June 18th at 1:30. Just jump on the Zoom call. I promise when Mr. Nikitas gets on, we try to get the attorneys out of here as quickly as we can. We'll get to you, but thanks for hanging in there today.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
No interpreter. Okay, we'll do Crystal Cifuentes.
Thanks.
This is 16 CF 3194, People versus Crystal Cifuentes. People represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant and her attorney, Davina Ayala, are both present via Zoom. This comes before you for, we missed a PTR hearing date. That was back in March.
Okay, Ms. Fuentes, if you can unmute your computer or phone for me. Thank you, ma'am. Can you hear and understand everything okay?
Yes.
Okay. Davina, how would you like to proceed?
Judge, I would be asking for another date. I did speak to her probation officer. Ms. DeFontes, before COVID had happened, was trying to get into a treatment program. She was looking at ATP and WRS, and then COVID happened and made it difficult for that to happen. So I would be asking for a status date instead of immediately setting it for hearing to see if she can get into treatment.
And Ms. LaBeouf, I was still doing treatment courts and when this whole thing hit, and treatment opportunities all but dried up because of COVID. So it was very hard to get anybody into treatment. Are you objecting to another status date?
No, Judge.
How far out do you want to go, Ms. Idle?
So can we get mid to end of July?
Sure. July 28th?
That'd be great.
All right. Crystal, you need to get on it. All those treatment facilities are opening back up and they have online options. So work with your probation officer to find an appropriate treatment environment and get involved as soon as possible, okay?
All right.
Your new court date's going to be the 28th of July at 1:30, likely via Zoom, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, we're now joined by the interpreter.
Orlando, thanks for coming back. Appreciate it.
This is People versus Jorge Martinez Estela, 17 CF 1021 and 19 CF 2285.
Este es el caso de la Fiscalía contra Jorge. I'm sorry, Counsel, could you repeat the name? I was just unmuted.
Sure. Jorge Martinez Estela.
Okay, Jorge Martínez Estela, 17 CF 1021.
He is present along with his attorney Julio Argueta via Zoom.
Él está presente junto con su abogado Julio Argueta mediante Zoom.
Judge, this comes before you. We missed a pretrial date and an offer has been previously tendered.
Juez, estamos ante usted. Se hizo previamente una oferta.
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct. We do have an offer on this case.
Sí, señoría, es correcto. Sí tenemos una oferta en este caso.
And we did reply to or respond to counsel regarding a modification to the plea, and I think she is considering that.
Y nosotros ofrecimos una modificación al acuerdo negociado y creo que ella lo está considerando.
Mr. Martinez, good afternoon, sir.
Señor Martínez, buenas tardes, señor.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Have you been able to understand everything that everybody said so far with the use of our interpreter?
¿Usted ha podido entender lo que se ha dicho hasta el momento con el uso de nuestro intérprete?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. Julio, how far out would you like to go for you and Ms. LaBeouf to continue to work out the details here?
Julio, ¿hasta cuándo quieres una continuación para seguir arreglando los detalles con la señora LaBeouf?
How about a 1-month date, Your Honor? I think we should be able to get this thing resolved.
Me parece una fecha de aquí a un mes, su señoría. Creo que podemos resolver esto.
How about July 14th, Tuesday at 1:30?
El 14 de julio a la 1:30, ¿puede ser?
Judge, I actually am going to have an order of protection hearing that is definitely going to go on that date, apparently.
About the 16th, Julio.
16th at 1:30, we should be able to make it happen then.
El día 16 a la 1:30 puede ocurrir.
Lisa, does that work for you?
That's fine.
Lisa, ¿funciona esa fecha? Está bien.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, your case is continued, as is your bond, until July 16th at 1:30.
Señor Martínez, su caso es continuado hasta el día 16, al igual que su fianza, a la 1:30 el día 16.
Okay.
Ok.
Thank you, sir.
Gracias, señor.
Right, Judge. And I just have one more matter.
Yes. We next have Jesus Guzman. This is 03 CF 1641. This is a non-interpreter case. I believe we're done with the interpreter.
We are.
Orlando, thanks again for your help. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Judge.
So 03 CF 1641 and 05 CF 1958. People versus Jesus Guzman. The people are represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is not present, but he is represented by Julio Argueta, who is. Judge, there was a motion to vacate hearing. I believe that was set on March 27th.
That's correct, Your Honor. We filed motions in 3 different cases because the Jesus Guzman, who was eventually sentenced to the Department of Corrections on some matters, his convictions went on the record of my client, Antonio Ortiz. So I'm trying to remove those. And I can show that by showing the fact that Antonio Ortiz is indeed not Jesus Guzman. So I provided, I know the state, some, not only my client when he was present in court, but photographs of him and identifications of him. And I know that they were going to get the mug shots for the Jesus Guzman that actually went to prison and committed these offenses. So I think if we ask for the July 16th date, we might be able to wrap this matter up and I can get an order entered. This happened 3 times in Lake County. It happened 3 times in Cook County. And I think another time in DuPage County. All these convictions that Mr. Jesus Guzman racked up went on my client Antonio Ortiz's traffic record.
Okay.
I know Mr. Corbin was working on this. I don't have an updated minute or where we were.
So it's a whodunit. So hopefully by July 16th, we'll figure it out.
Sure, Judge. July 16th, 1:30. Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Thank you. His presence is waived for today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Julio. Good to see you.
You too. Take care.
And now we have, Mr. Laurellan Stewart's matter. This is 18 CF 2577, People versus Laurellan Stewart, people represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant, as well as his attorney, Davina Ayala, are both present before the court via Zoom. And we had a final hearing date, I believe it was set for yesterday from March. So I don't have an update as to where we are with this.
And Judge, I apologize. I don't have the court file. This is actually Miss Castle's case. She is, she's having technical difficulties, so she couldn't be here today. But my understanding is for Mr. Stewart's case, the only outstanding allegation is court costs. He's paid about $210. He owes about $700. So I would be asking to either enter judgment on those costs or if we can get a longer date to allow him time to pay.
Yeah, Mr. Stewart, number one, thanks for hanging in there. I know you've been on.
Thank you, Judge.
And so I'm sure that was a real treat to have to listen to all of this all afternoon. But in any event, Davina, what do you want? You want to go into August? Give Mr. Stewart a chance to.
Judge, there's more than fines and court costs. There's at least 4 tests of positive for alcohol. So I think that's why we were asking for a hearing date.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I apologize, Judge, I did not have that information.
No worries.
So whatever date makes Your Honor more comfortable, if you'd like an earlier date.
Yeah, why don't we look at, why don't we mark it final for hearing on the 28th of July at 1:30. That'll still give Mr. Stewart some time to wrap up some things and work with his PO, put himself in a better position, hopefully in the end of July.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Stewart, probably by Zoom again. We'll see how you're doing on July 28th for hearing, okay?
Okay, thanks, Judge.
Thank you.
I have one other case that is also Miss Castle's. It's Eugene Raymond. I don't see him on here. It looks like there's one call-in person. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a gentleman with a 224 number.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir. That's me.
You're Mr. Raymond?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then give us 1 second while the prosecutor makes a record. Your attorney is on the call, sir.
This is 18 CF 1321, People versus Eugene Raymond, people represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is present via Zoom via phone call, and his attorney, Jill Castle, is not present, but Davina Ayala is here on behalf of her. Your Honor, this was also set for a hearing yesterday, June 10th. It was set back in March. I don't believe we have any probation update regarding his compliance.
And Judge, I actually do have an update from probation. I just need to find it in my email. It sounds like he has been doing well. He's been reporting as directed. He's been making payments towards his court costs regularly. He has expressed an interest in engaging in individual sessions with psych services and is currently on the wait list. He's not been able to work on any public service hours due to the sites being closed. So he does still have a balance of 197 out of 200 hours. And he was scheduled to go into the office yesterday, but we did not have an update with regards to testing.
Ms. LaBeouf, any objection to going into August?
No, Judge, I'm just want to note that probation did not send us an update. So this just went straight to Ms. Ayala. But there's several allegations, so I'd rather not go out far.
Okay. All All right, then let's set it on, I think I set the other gentleman on the 28th. Let's set this one on the 28th of July, and we'll see how we're doing.
Is that for status or hearing, Judge?
No, I'm going to set it for status. Part of the challenge of the pandemic was the financial impact, the lack of treatment opportunities, and the lack of public service opportunities. So I'm not inclined to, you know, force folks into hearings under those circumstances.
Thank you, Judge. So July 28th at 1:30.
Yes, and bond is continued till then. Mr. Raymond, we'll see you then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Judge, the only other case I have is Michelle Penning. She's not going to be present, and probation reached out to me, so I'll make a record. This is 17 CF 2926, People versus Michelle Penning, people represented by Lisa LaBeouf. The defendant is not present, and she was proceeding pro se, Your Honor. Jose Acala, her probation officer, indicated that she was admitted to Vista Hospital on June 8th for gallbladder surgery. So she cannot be here. And she's just asking for a date, but they didn't give me what date would be available. So whatever the court.
So June 8th was her surgery date?
Yes. And Judge, PTR, and I think the only allegation is money. So we should have some sort of conclusion to this matter on the next court date.
Let's go to July 21st. Give her at least a month to recover from that. And Lisa, I'm going to ask that you send her notice to appear, because otherwise she's not going to have any idea since she doesn't have counsel.
Judge, we will send notice, and Mr. Acala also indicated that he would call her and inform her of the next court date.
Great, thank you.
And that, does Michelle have any other cases?
All right, very good. Thanks for plowing through that. That was kind of hairy. I appreciate you
Did it?
running that. So Barb, thanks for running around. Everybody have a safe night. And I hope, Mr. Corbin, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I hope you're feeling all right because you're still on the call. So feel better, Chris. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.